Ever had people look at you like? April 4, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. Anyone who has followed the rabbit trail as we have, has discovered many truths that, at the time of discovery, were jaw-dropping. I remember discovering that the IRS was a private bill collector for the Pope's municipal government, and was in fact operating under the Spanish law of the Inquisition. That was a big one. I remember when a friend of mine in the Deep South who was into Civil War history first pointed out, hey, the Civil War was never declared, and there was no peace treaty ending it, either. Talk about causing a brain freeze! Exclamation mark. Pack enough of those under your belt and you look around and realize that, 1, you were not given a full deck, and 2, darn near everyone else is in the same condition. Of course, as I and our team have learned more and more, we come to take these things for granted, and as we talk to each other we assume the stature of geeks talking about particle physics. As you start this learning curve and start trying to share what you have learned with friends and relatives, you are very likely to encounter resistance. What you have learned and what you are telling them is not in line with their long-accepted view of the world. And since they have a cozy, comforting view of the world and the government, they don't want to give that up for a world that is ambiguous, and frankly, frightening to think about. There are all sorts of reasons people stopper up their ears. Fear is a big motivator. Sloth is another. It might interfere with watching football and require one to go to town hall meetings instead. And then, there is simply feeling overwhelmed. Life is tough enough with jobs and kids and everything else. We know. Been there and done that, too. Honestly, whatever reasons our friends and relatives have to blanching to pale green when we try to talk to them about history and law and the politics of it all, it still hurts, because for most of us, what we have learned is compelling. Indeed, it's urgent. The situation needs to be addressed, and we are the only ones that can address it. Me and you. There's nobody here but us chickens. At any given time, I have to deal with newbies who have never given a second thought to their government or history, people in the middle who are rushing around chasing every rabbit hole in sight, and my peers, people like Kurt Kallenbach and Romley Stewart who have followed their own threads into the spider web and come to know it from their own vantage points. One of the most pervasive evidences of crime against us that we have is the use of dog Latin, our names appearing in all capital letters. Every American above the age of 4 has noticed their name being spelled in all capital letters. Everyone knows that the proper way to spell a person's name in English is upper and lower case, just like we were taught in grade school. So what's the purpose or meaning of spelling a person's name in all capital letters? If you ask a lawyer, they will shine you on and say, oh, it's nothing. Ignore that. It's all the same. But it isn't. If you ask a grammarian, they will wrinkle their foreheads like a Venetian blind. If you consult tomes published for the use of lawyers, you will learn that all caps name are used to denote the estates of dead men and corporations. Nothing else. Say what? Are you dead? Are you a corporation? At this point in the discovery process, Romley Stewart and his crew of deadly determined researchers set off on a world cruise of history and deceit and criminal government activities going back 1,500 years to the reign of the Roman Emperor, Justinian. And they have delivered the ultimate and complete answer to what the use of names printed out in all capital letters means. Say goodbye to the glad-handing lawyers, telling you that it doesn't mean anything, go back to sleep. And if your relatives say you are crazy, sit them down with a bag of chips and some beer in front of the television set they love, and watch the Justinian Deception. You want proof? You think we are all tin hats? The Justinian Deception, featuring Romley Stewart, Limited Edition, Volumes 1-6, link. The satisfaction of seeing your doubter friends and relatives with their mouths hanging slack will be sufficient to justify the expense. I recommend that every state assembly collect the shekels and buy a set and make this available to members. It might even be the focus of a series of meetings and group discussions. Knowledge is power and proof is sweet. Especially if you have ever had people look at you like you were crazy when you tried to explain this part of it to them. Link to the Justinian Deception can be found in the video description box. Thank you.